Hello, salaamaaleykum man la Siga Diagne ma di leen nuyu ba tey tam ma di leen wax ne ngeen baalal ma parce que xam naa ne ñu bare ngi toogoon di ma xaar may jéggalu di jéggalu bu baax a baax parce que waxoon naa leen ñetti waxtu waaye ñu bare ma doon yónnee message sax ñi di ma call te dégga is my fault, and in this new Gambia we must all do better, right? We all have to do better. So I'm gonna start with saying assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, just greetings in our traditional Islamic sense, in our traditional Gambian sense too. That's the funny thing. Assalamu alaikum is traditional Islamic greeting, but in Senegambia it's a cultural greeting because we all say assalamu alaikum, even including Christians. So even for those of you who are not from Senegambia, or if you're Christian, I would say assalamu alaikum and I greet you as well. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what are these controversial issues that she's going to talk about? As a matter of fact, I had a number of people call me, you know, people that love me, people that have known me for the past 20 years and worked in working in advocacy together, working for Gambia together, who I respect and who respect me, as well as family members. A lot of people called me and were like, Siga, you know, what are you going to talk about? And some of them, of course, some of them are a little bit embarrassed to ask me, so they just chit chat. But this is what I'm going to tell you guys. For those of you who know me, very close people, you know that I'm not about to get here and be dramatic or petty or nasty. It's just not who I am. It's not in my nature. It's not the fabric of who I am made of. Sumay daf daan wax ne ñu ne mun nañ la sédda ci gaale xaj waaye bu kenn fekk jaaj naar sa loxo ci biir gaale xaj bi. Meaning, that's just a general way of saying that says that in fact people can put negative accusations against your character even, but that let no person ever find your hand within basically within that dog bowl. But really it's meaning let nobody ever catch you doing something horrible. So please rest assured, I am not about to get here and talk about anybody personal or anything, my personal life or anybody else's personal life, or get dramatic. What I'm going to talk about is Gambian issues, because for me, that is what's important to me. Hi, my Baji. There's my niece, Mai, and I see a lot of you. I see Fatou Menga, More. I see my sister, Ndey Kumba Diagne. Again, I see my Baji. I love you too, my dear. I see Lamda Bundisi, my sisters. I'm sure Tukulor C is somewhere. I saw Abdul Karim Jame earlier, who is part of the April 10/11, who was shot. You know, there's a lot of you on here that I respect. I know Honest Gambia is here. And of course, my sister Tukulor C, that everybody knows. Satang Nyang, oh my God, Satang, how are you? Satang is the wife of Jaja Nyas, who is one of the beloved December 30th heroes. I see Umijalo, of course, Aminata Diagne, Rachel Fay. I see so many people, my brother, Shehu, Ibusila. I will mention some of you every now and then. Again, those of you who have known me from childhood, you know I don't do drama, I don't do nastiness. So rest assured, nothing personal is going to be talked about here. I'm sure some of you, your minds have gone everywhere. Siga does as Siga does. Siga doesn't follow what other people do. Siga does what she does no matter what other people do because of who Siga is. I don't do that because it's not me. So now, what am I here to talk about? I'm going to talk about some of the most controversial issues that have been coming up since the Barrow administration. And this is not just about the Barrow administration also, but us Gambians ourselves. Some of the things that's been happening. So I'll be talking about the Barrow administration. I'll talk about what's been happening with Tuku Jallow and some of the videos that have actually come out. I will also talk about the APRC supporters that have come up and talked about who are arrested. I will talk about the recent arrests around NIA and some recent information that I have learned. So I'm going to start with His Excellency Adama Barrow. It is said that the head that wears the crown is heavy, and it's heavy for a reason. Because when a whole people take their destiny, take their future, take their aspirations and put it in your hand, an immense responsibility is put upon your person. Therefore, Your Excellency, Adama Barrow, I will first start with the respect of the office that I have for that office of the presidency of the Gambia, because the presidency of the Gambia doesn't just, it's a symbol. It's not just about Adama Barrow. So how we treat it, even when we criticize it, if we disrespect it, we disrespect ourselves as Gambians. You will see in Europe and in the West, yes, there's a minority. There's some people who disrespect their office, but they respect themselves and their nationality so much that when they speak about the office of their presidency, no matter whether they are for or against, no matter whether they voted for that person or not, they do it with respect, the respect that is due, because it's the symbol at the head of your nation. That being said, I first congratulate you for your inauguration. I again congratulate you for a lot of your appointments, including the historic appointment of Chief Justice Hassan Babukar Jallow and Ba Tambadou. Because as someone who is part of, people say victims, I don't say victims because I am nobody's victim. I'm a survivor, is what I say. It's woven in the fabrics of my ancestors, and it is handed down to me as such. I am a survivor. And I believe that all of us who have gone through Jammeh are survivors. And the entire Gambia, as a matter of fact, we're survivors. That's why we were able to entrench a dictator without even firing a bullet. So for the survivors of the Jammeh regime, it is very important, the people that you put at the helm of the justice system. So I congratulate you, because for Chief Justice Honorable Hassan Babukar Jallow, we know that Hassan has extensive experience both working within the Hague, for many years as the prosecutor for the Rwanda War Crime Tribunals, and also as the prosecutor for former Yugoslavia, as well as in Sierra Leone, has experience in Sierra Leone. So therefore, he is the right person. And I know that it was a sacrifice for him to come and take that task to in fact, step in that role in order to usher Gambia. We need that immense experience. That appointment in and of itself did give us a measure of satisfaction and hope, because we feel that together, that team, Honorable Hassan Jallow and Honorable Ba Tambadou, we feel that are up to the task, the immense task of ensuring that justice occurs. One of the things that I want to remind you, Your Excellency, is that Gambia is a unique case. Some people tend to call on what happened in Rwanda, but I dare say Rwanda is different. I think it was Madi Jabate talked about this. Even Rwanda is not the same as what happened in Gambia. And excuse me, I know it might be shaking a little bit. If it's shaking or if you can't hear me for some reason, please make sure you let me know. You know, I'm not West Ajikumba when you need her. I'm not the video guru. As a matter of fact, this kept coming to my head for the past 2 weeks to do this live video, and I kept saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. You know, then finally I said, you know what? I'm going to do it because I have a lot of things I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about them honestly. It is not my intention to offend anybody, but it is my intention to be truthful and speak the truth from my heart as I believe it. And if it so offenses anybody else, I'm sorry, but that's on you. How you interpret my words, that's on you. What I mean and what I get from my heart is exactly what I would say, without fear, without favor. And I pray to God that as the words that come out of my mouth, they will be respectful towards everybody that is involved, and that they will be fair. And in fact, that me, myself, as I call for justice, as my late brother, Captain Jagajan, used to say, that don't just be right, but be also righteous. So as I stand here and talk about being a survivor, and talk about being right, and feeling in my heart and in my head and in my mind and my soul that I am right, may God also ensure and that I'm righteous, and I would also hold myself accountable to being righteous. So that being said, after I congratulate you, Your Excellency, and I also further congratulate you for the arrests of the NIA that have been happening in the past couple of days, starting with Yankuba Koli and a number of, I believe it is Omar Jeng, and a number of those folks. In fact, we see the charge sheet that came out. We have actually received information that I'll talk about regarding why they were able to move forward with the charges, information that's been given to me today, very recently. As you go forward with these arrests, yes, these are heinous people who have committed heinous crimes. We ask that may the laws of the Gambia guide you, may the laws of natural justice guide you, because, again, I quote my late brother, Captain Jagajan, U.S. Army Captain Jagajan, that let us remind them, Yaya Jammeh and co., in an open letter he wrote in 2013 to Yaya Jammeh, that we will, that when they hurt our mothers, our daughters, our wives, our fathers, that let us remind them that we are not like them. We are not them. That with us, no, we are not doormats. We will ensure justice happens, because justice is not only punitive, but justice is also something that is for a deterrent. When you ensure justice, you make sure that somebody else doesn't get up and do the same thing tomorrow. That is why justice of a land, and when people commit mass crimes against humanity, against the defenseless Gambian people, using the machinery of the government, the might, the resources of the government to commit heinous crimes against the Gambian people and against humanity at large, that in fact they be brought to justice. Not in a witch hunting way, not for the simple fact of wanting revenge. Absolutely different. Justice is completely separate from revenge. The difference is revenge is saying, what you did to me exactly, I will do to you. If we were going to revenge or witch hunt, and APRC supporters, listen to this very carefully. Let me define for you the difference between justice and revenge and witch hunting. Justice is somebody does something to you. You may even have witnessed something as horrible as what the Jammeh government have done, raping people. We saw just recently videos of prisoners, female prisoners from Mile 2 who couldn't even walk. I saw people posting on Facebook that those people were gang raped in the prisons to the point that they lost partial use of their legs. We know these stories. We have had them for the longest. And Gambians, brace yourself. I have always said this, that just like what happened with Idi Amin when he left Uganda, when Ugandans, even though whilst he was in office, they knew about some of the horrendous stuff, but once he left, that whole nation was in shock at the level of callousness, at the level of terror, at the level of just crimes and horrendous activities that has happened in their country right under their noses. And Gambia is going to discover those stories. We will all need healing. We will all need prayer before it's over. But I go back to H.E. Barrow. I say to you again, I congratulate you for your appointments of those people who are going to drive the cause of justice, because they are in fact highly qualified. I remind you of your duty to be steadfast to the laws of justice. And I will quote your own words. You said during your statements for the independence that Gambia will never be the same again, because in fact, Gambians have now learned that not only can we put the presidents in position, our leaders in position, but in fact, we can take them down. We have learned that in an immense way. It has opened our eyes, and never again shall we allow anybody to enslave us, whether you are from within us or from outside of us. That being said, I will remind you of the outcry that you heard from people from all walks of life, on the ground and abroad, about the fact that you had people such as Aïssatou Njie Seydi, people such as Fatou Lamine Faye, people such as Sheriff Bojang, hobnobbing with you and your cabinet, seeing Auntie Fatmata Tambajang, who we respect very highly, holding hands with, in fact, Aïssatou Njie Seydi. I am sure what you were trying to demonstrate is magnanimity, that you are above what has happened to Gambia. But it is not yours to forgive. It is not yours to be able to show that magnanimity. In fact, it is the people who have been hurt the most, who were raped in those prisons, women who were not only gang raped, some of them hands being put from inside of them. Think about if that was your mother, if that was your daughter, if that was your wife. We are not witch hunters. We love Gambia just as you guys do. We've sacrificed immensely for Gambia. We shed blood for Gambia. And therefore, we will not be left to the side without making our voice heard. We are not saying our voice is the only important one, but we are Gambians just like everybody else. And I'm also going to address something. People have been saying, and very unfairly, every time the diaspora makes their voice known, people on the ground in particular say, well, you guys don't vote, you're not here, so if you want to come here. They used to say that with Jammeh. Everybody knows that if these two populations, those on the ground and in the diaspora, didn't work together, Jammeh would still be here today. And the diaspora was every bit as important in it. Throughout history, diasporas have been critical in unseating dictators, tyrants, and callous rulers, because by virtue of being outside of their immediate reach, you're able to organize, you're able to make sure the world knows about what is happening in your country, you're able to highlight the horrendous crimes that are happening. We also know that the diaspora is the one that has funded everything that happened in that country. I know because I was part of it from 2000 to now, down to the elections, facilitating funds, participating in the fundraising that GDF did a great job. All of us funded it. So how dare you tell us that our voices shouldn't be heard, when not only did we shed our blood and tears, but in fact, we funded every aspect of it. Barrow, now everybody, all the vultures, and I say vultures, I'm sorry if you think my choice of words is wrong, but I will use that, because vultures are ones who circle around what they think is a dead carcass. But let me remind you, that national office is not about Barrow, it's about all of us, and that is, there are no dead carcasses there. Because in that office, it's not just about Barrow or Fatmata Tambajang or Mai Fatty, it's about the collective Gambians. And if your administration haven't yet learned from the lessons of what we did with Yaya Jammeh in 22 years, you better learn fast. Because if we can unseat a brutal dictator, yes, it took us 22 years, it will never take us 22 years with any of you. We're not there with you. I'm not saying we should unseat you, because I don't see any reason why we should. I know that you guys have an immense task in front of you, a challenge, a heavy burden. And in fact, it is not only your burden, it's the burden of each and every one Gambian. And I keep telling people when they say, oh, you know, the fight is over, meaning you should rest. I said, what are you talking about? The fight is over. Now the work has begun. And the work is not the work of Siga Jagne or the work of Barrow, it's the work of each and every Gambian. Each of us must ask ourselves, what is it in Gambia that we want to see change, and we become that change? What does your new Gambia look like? And you, it is incumbent upon you to make sure that new Gambia happens. Don't just sit there. If it is that you need to talk to Barrow, reach out. If it is that it's a project that needs to happen, do it. Even if you're not on the ground, there are things you can do. Don't just sit there and complain. You know, it is easy to sit on the sidelines and complain. But what I, in fact, admire, what I'm in awe of, are those who are always in the muck and the mire of the fields, pushing when it's the hardest, even when it's against all odds. I remember, and people, those of you here, Pastor Ambajau, etc., remember back in the 2000s, 2001, when people, we would go to demonstrations and people will tell us, yena ngay dem si sen demonstration ni kik di re yen yena am jot xamalo len di defa jame. But look, in the end, everybody came. And what I used to say when people say, oh, people, you're just finally coming, I said, it doesn't matter. Because what we fought for was to ensure that more Gambians came. Then, therefore, how can you wait when they all come now? You're saying, the pointing finger saying, you're just coming now. Yes, they're just coming now. We wish they came before, but the important thing is that they're here. Now it's time for all of us to work together. Now, what I would remind again, President Barrow, we unseated Jammeh. It took us 22 years. It will never take us 22 years again, ever, to unseat any government. That is not a threat. That is a fact. There's a difference between a threat and a fact. I am happy that Barrow actually is very aware of that, because he himself, His Excellency, and I respect him immensely for that, he said that during his speech, and that in every speech, at the forefront of that statement, he always says he talks about the immense contribution of the diaspora, because he understands. At the time when he was campaigning, who was campaigning with him? Yes, the youth on the ground and the people in the diaspora. We were behind the money. We were the ones also sending information everywhere. And even besides that, in the 22 years that Jammeh was there, that economy would have totally collapsed if, in fact, we, the diasporans, have not been the ones sending our remittances every day, feeding our families, paying for school fees, paying for our compound taxes, buying houses and building them. People, there are whole compounds, starting from Banjul to Sarengay, from Njawara Badibu Suare Kuna to Koina, from Brikama to Gunjur. Everywhere you name, from Sukuta to Makati, you know, from Janjangbure you name it, to Barajali, wherever. There were Gambians from all over the world, from America, from Europe, from Saudi Arabia, from Angola, who were the ones feeding their families. And if it wasn't for us, those families would not have anything to eat. In fact, the World Bank has talked about the billions of dollars that go into that small country annually from remittances. And those are just not even including some of the money that goes in that is not countable, that is not going through the bank systems and even the formal remittance systems. So we, the diaspora, yes, for 22 years, we were the ones carrying the Gambia on our backs. And, you know, I'm not saying Gambians there were not doing stuff. Of course, a lot of Gambians were doing a lot of good stuff on the ground. But if the diaspora wasn't there, even Jammeh himself, his government would have collapsed earlier, because his economy was dependent on the taxes and the remittances and the payments we made in there. So let me remind you of the power is in the people, the collective people, not only in the diaspora, but also in the Gambia on the ground, especially the youth. Now, I lead that with HE and your entire cabinet, not just you, because this is not just about Adama Barrow. Adama Barrow, I hope, and I know for a fact, actually, that he doesn't make decisions by himself, and that is not the government that we want. He makes decisions as a cabinet. And I see a trend that is, he is listening, and that cabinet is listening to the people, and you continue to listen. Remember at every moment that we put you there, and in fact, we can take you out as well. And I will say that again. We put you there, and we can take you out. And anybody else including your cabinet, including the members of parliament, who are the ones we're going to be tackling here soon, for them to understand. When I say we, I'm not talking about Siga Jaj. I'm talking about the Gambian people. Yaya Jammeh has learned that today. And I'm glad that you know that and you're keeping it at the forefront of your mind. For that, I respect you, sir, His Excellency Adama Barrow. Now, we are all human beings, and institutions are built, systems are built by human beings. Therefore, human beings are human and they make mistakes. Me, myself, I make mistakes. You made a fundamental mistake when you brought Aissatou Njie Saideh and all of these people to be mingling with your office, and then flaunting it in the faces of the Solo Sandeng family, flaunting it in the faces of the Haruna Jammeh family, flaunting it in the faces of the Chief Ibrahima Mane family, flaunting it in the faces of the April 10-11 families. You may say, no, I don't think you did it deliberately. But it is not whether you did it deliberately or not. In fact, it was the fact that that is the impact it had. For Chief Ibrahima Mane's mother, sitting in her compound, feeling that for 22 years, in fact, I think Chief Ibrahima Mane disappeared, people correct me, I think it was in 2006 or earlier, or 2005. So that means for over a decade, his poor mother couldn't even get any justice, couldn't utter his name anywhere. She had to sit around, watch the people that tortured and killed her promising son, her son with a bright future. Watch them on TV every day, see them in the newspaper, see people edifying them, praising them. And she had to stay with that heartache. When I watched that woman, I cried that day. Just like when I watched Auntie Jara, Ibulo's mother. You know why I cried? Their pain is familiar to me. When I saw the bags under the eyes of Auntie Jara, I saw my mother. My mother in the past 2 years have aged drastically. It is as if, I sometimes look at her and I cannot believe it. I remember Auntie Mamindur telling me this, that when I saw your mom, I went into the bathroom and cried. Because all of a sudden, my mom used to be like me. People always tell me I look younger than my age. My mother, people always used to tell her she looks younger than her age. In 2 years, she seemed to have aged 20 years. She is strong, and in her strength, I find my strength. But because of those of you who know our story, my mother, my brother Asan Suare was shot April 10th. My sister Jara Suare, younger sister, was beaten very badly. To this day, she has problems with her foot. It gets swollen all the time. And we're trying to get her medical treatment. My brother Njaga Jane was one of the December 38 heroes that was killed, and we don't know where his body is. And we're asking President Barrow to help not only for us to find the bodies of Jaja Nyas, Lamin Sane, Njaga Jane, but all of the people, Chief Ibrahima Mane, Solo Sandeng, all of the people who have been killed. Help us find where their bodies are. We need to bury them in decency. These are decent sons and daughters of the Gambia. These are people who, if it was not for them, you would not be in that seat. So we call on you and your cabinet to make that an utmost priority, because we do need to bury our dead and honor them so their children can one day have somewhere to stand and pray for them. They all deserve to lie in peace. I know they are watching us. I know my brother is with me all the time. I know that. And when I cry, please don't, I know it's tough. It is tough. I don't hide my feelings. It's not tears of regret or tears of shame or tears of anything. There are tears of pride. Yes, there are tears of hurt, because my heart hurts for his physical presence. But at the same time, I am so proud of him. I am so proud of him. And I've said this before. And people ask me, how can you say that? I said, honestly, I don't know if I would have changed anything. He did what he believed in. He stood up for his country. What I would say is, Your Excellency, be sensitive to the hurting hearts of the victims. Just because those victims on the ground, such as Chief Ibrahim Amane's mother, or the mother of Ibulo and Tijara, just because they were not in some powerful position like Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi, and therefore they were not invited to sit next to you and be honored and take pictures and smile. Do you know for 22 years how many mothers have been crying, cannot sleep at night? When I watched Chief Ibrahim Amane's mother, I recognized her pain in the face of my mother. The strength and the dignity in those women, even as they call for all of us to be strong. They themselves going through a lot. I talked about the fact that my brother and sister were both beaten very bad. Well, my brother was shot twice, both in his stomach and hand. And to this day, he suffers from it. He even had a systemic infection, because one time when he was in the hospital, they did surgery in his stomach, and he ended up the stitches busted open, and the food he ate actually spilled on the bed. I don't know if Ajikumba Dafe remembers this. This is one of the moments I clearly remember her, our friendship, and value it. She went to Gambia, she came back, she told me, if you don't get your brother out of Gambia and get him medical treatment, he will die. He said to me, Siga, I'm your friend, so I can tell you this. Do you know that your brother, when you stand at the door, you can smell the wounds on him because of the level of infection? And that was the pain we lived. My mom slept on the floors, the dirty floors of the Royal Victoria Hospital for a year. And those April 10, 11 victims were being treated like they were nothing. I remember when the army was having an exercise and they actually had an accident. I don't know whether something exploded and they were all injured. They came and saw those boys, our children that they have already shot, and tried to take them off the beds and put the soldiers there. And those children, Yusuf Mbaye, Hassan Suare, Seni Senghor, Abdou Karim Jammeh, they were all so brave. Because what they said was, you can kill us because you've already, what else can you do to us? We are not leaving these beds so that your soldiers that shot us can come and lie in those beds. Are they more Gambian than we are? We are not getting out of these beds. You can shoot us, but we are not getting out. You know, so this pain, you who feels it knows it, you don't understand. You will never understand it. It's a club that we didn't ask to be part of, but that we will forever be part of. We will forever be part of. Talking to Haruna Jammeh's daughter, you know, looking at the pain on the face of Chief Ibrahim Amane, I recognize my mother's pain. My mom was so strong. She would always be telling everybody to be, you know, to take it to God. And I would hear her. Sometimes when she would think of everything that happened, I'll hear her exclaim, Che Yalla, Che Yalla, you know. She would always say that, and I would ask her, Mom, what is it? She said, nothing. And I yalla rek, you know. Auntie Mami, you know, my Baji, all of these people. You know, when Jaga was shot, my brother was arrested. Just like Lamin Sane's mother, aging mother, was arrested. Jajanya's mother, what did those poor mothers do? They were there for 6 months. They didn't even know that their children were killed. It is when they left out of there that they were told that their children were killed. And all of a sudden now it became a fresh morning again. The mother of Lamin Sane have lost the breadwinner for her. You know, so many people. And so for you to now sit Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi, and people have the nerve to ask, what did Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi do? What did Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi do? What did Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi not do is the question. Listen to me. I may not have done things the way Tuku Jallow did it, but this is democracy. I may not have agreed with Tuku Jallow's methods because I'm not Tuku. And there I've heard all kinds of things, people saying that, oh, Tuku Jallow is uncivilized, or Tuku Jallow lim def nii nak, she has misbehaved. You know, Gambians, sometimes, I don't understand you. Listen to me. I'm the first to say, Aïssatou Njie said he has the right to go about Gambia until a court of law, until she's brought into a court of law. It doesn't matter how many witnesses are out in the street saying what they saw, but when until you take them through the justice system, I don't condone vigilante justice. But there's a difference between vigilante justice and the democratic right for somebody to speak out when they feel that someone has done wrong. Now you ask me what Aïssatou Njie said they have said, and some people are saying, "Why Aïssatou Njie said the jigéen la? Aïssatou Njie said is a woman. Then ko wara chiral te mag la. She's an elderly woman, so Tuku should not have said that." This elderly woman didn't remember that she was a woman, that she had children, that she is elderly. When April 10, 11, when the children were shot, she stood on the radio and said it was the children's own fault that they were killed in broad daylight. Our children's blood were stained on the streets of Banjul, on the streets of Serekunda, on the streets up country the next day, when the blood wasn't even dried. When mothers like her, when women like her were asking, they didn't know whether their children were alive or dead. My mom told me a story of this one Manjago Ojola woman, I can't remember which one she said, whose child was killed. The woman said for almost a week, she's been coming to the RVH, trying to get in the door. The soldiers wouldn't let her get in. And finally, when she got in, that's when they took her to the dead house and she saw her child. So for 1 week, she didn't know that her child was dead. My mom told me so many horrendous stories for that 1 year she was laying on the floor in RVH next to Assad. And you guys are telling me that Tuku Jallow calling, Tuku didn't put her hands on her, on Aïssatou Njie said. If she did, I would be the first to say, Tuku, you are wrong. I may not do things the way Tuku does things. You may not do things the way Tuku does things. But who are you to take away her fundamental human right and her right as a Gambian citizen to voice and to protest verbally? You guys must learn more about democracy. She didn't insult her. She stated facts. Those were facts. And for those of you who are short memory, who have short memory, or in fact, if maybe you just didn't know, Aïssatou Njie said he stood on the radio when the blood of our children were running in the streets of Banjul, saying these children killed themselves. Making excuses that it was the people who were shooting were from within the children themselves. As such, she is an aider and abetter of a brutal regime, and in any justice system, when you aid and abet a crime, you are also guilty. You might not be as guilty to the degree that the person who did the crime was. If someone came and kidnapped your child and raped them, and I was standing there watching and torturing them, and I was standing there watching, oh, I knew about it and I never said anything to you. No, maybe they are my neighbor, or maybe they live in my house, or I live in their house. And I know every night I'm hearing somebody, or maybe after the child is raped. Let's say I live with your child. You gave me your child. And I'm in the house with someone who's raping them every day, who's torturing them. I may not see it with my own eyes, but the child will be crying, or they will come and tell me, but I turned my ear somewhere else. I turned my attention. Am I not guilty of a crime? Am I not an aider and an abetter? Aïssatou Njie said it is all those horrendous crimes, she was aware. Is she not a Gambian? She's an ordinary Gambian like all of you guys. I mean, she's a Gambian. She's not ordinary because she was at the helm. She had a responsibility that was given to her, mandated to her by the power of the people, and she failed us miserably. She sat there. She knew a lot of these crimes. And I have heard, well, we all remember just 8 months ago when the women of UDP, Fatoumata Jawara, Fatou Camara, and Nogo Njie, all these people were taken and tortured mercilessly. Some of them raped. what happened? There's been a lot of statements about the fact, because at the time, if you remember, there was a point in time Jammeh was not there. Even when Solo Sandeng was being killed, Jammeh was not there. They had to call him. Aïssatou Ndiaye was in fact in power in the absence of Jammeh. You as the vice presidents are in power. So even if you didn't know what was going on, the buck stops at the head. If you take an office, if you come and you give me your house and you say that, you know what, watch my house for me. If other people come into the house whilst you're gone and steal stuff and rampage the house and destroy it, who do you ask when you come back? You ask me. So Aïssatou Ndiaye said we can ask her and we can protest against her because she was in our house. She was mandated to watch our house when and all these crimes were happening. She was there and all the time standing by Jammeh. You want to tell me she didn't know that any of those things happened? Is it just the fact that she didn't commit them with her own hands that just that fact doesn't make her guilty? She is guilty. She may not have committed, she might even be more guilty than the people who committed the actual killers, because the actual killers were tools. These are people who were given drugs and groomed and brainwashed to kill. That doesn't absolve them from their crime, and they were being used as tools, and they'll be used to give evidence. But the people at the helm gave them, the person who has power over you and instructs you to do stuff or watch you do stuff without doing anything. That person that we entrusted our house to, that person is guilty. And that's Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi, inclusive of Jammeh and all of them. So don't tell me how they are to be talking. Thank God that we are good people, Gambians, that all she got was just somebody shouting at her. Other countries, they would have been killing each other. We are lucky, and we thank God that that's not what we do. I do not condone physical violence. That's not who we are. That's not what good people are, and that's not what we fought for. I remind you again of Captain Jaga Jane's words, that in fact, when they maim us, when they hurt us, when they rape our sisters and our daughters and our brothers, when they kill our fathers and our brothers and our mothers, let us show them that we are better. But let us follow the law. And I would say what reporter Frederick Tendeng says. Yeah, forgiveness, yes, but justice first. Forgiveness, yes, but justice first. If we're going to heal, we have to go through a process. The healing process starts with the truth. Now, how do you take people who have not even been contrite? These people haven't even said they're sorry. They're acting like they didn't do anything wrong. They haven't even apologized to anybody. They're saying, apologize for what? You give me your house. Tell me to be watch it. You come back, somebody come in and steal everything and then trash it and set it on fire. And then you come and I'm telling you, well, since I didn't do it, I was not there when it was being set in fire. I really don't care. I'm not going to apologize. It's the same thing. They owe every Gambian an apology, not just the victims in particular, but every Gambian an apology, including Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi, Fatou Lamine Faye, all of them. All of them. The minimum they could have done if they knew any inkling, and I believe absolutely, and I'm sure a lot of evidence will come out, that they knew. Because even ordinary Gambians heard about a lot of these crimes, at least at a minimum. They should have resigned at a minimum. They were aiders and abettors. So now, Your Excellency, you who is the government who we have fought hard because you guys didn't put yourselves there. By yourselves, you would never have gotten this position. No one party either could have put you there. UDP by itself could not have put you there. PPP by itself could not have put you there. NRP by itself could not have put you there. DOI by itself, together. And even the political parties by themselves would not have put you there. It's the Gambian people that put you there. So now, those people who have killed and maimed and raped us for 22 years, our mothers watching this, the mothers who were the ones who knelt to bore their children, and never got any justice. We're sitting there 22 years watching these people in power, going on TV, people edifying them. They were the ones cowering even after they've been so unjustly wronged. Their children who being vilified, nothing came out of it. Jammeh and his cohorts acting in arrogance. Finally, when they breathe as shy of relief, you then bring these same people who have not even apologized to sit and take pictures with you. I'm not saying that there should not have been a transition. But the most sensitive thing and respectful thing you could have done is go behind the scenes. No pictures, no photo ops. and do the transition. Honestly, Barrow himself didn't even have to be there. Barrow did not have to be there, neither did Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi, because the actual work of a ministry is not done by Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi. Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi was just running around clapping for Jammeh and licking Jammeh's boots and doing whatever Jammeh wanted. She was not engaged in the day-to-day functioning of any ministry. And most of the time, ministers are not the ones that do the work. It's the technocrats, the permanent secretaries. Those are the people who should have met and do the transition. But at a minimum, if what your mind gave you, there was a shortness in your judgment that you decided that yes, you needed to meet with Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi to show your magnanimity, then you should have at least done it, have the sensitivity of doing it behind closed doors. Are these people more worthy? Are they more Gambian than the mother of Ibrahim, Chief Ibrahim Mane? Are they more worthy than the daughters and the wife and mother of Solo Sandeng? Are they more worthy than Aja Yasin Job, Captain Jaga Jai's mother? Are they more worthy? Are they more worthy than Auntie Mami, the mother of Alhaji Mahmoud Sise? Are they more worthy than Mai Baji, who has had 3 sons, asking her every day about their father? Are they more worthy than Auntie Jara, the mother of Ibulu? And I can name hundreds and hundreds of victims. I say all this because I want you to understand the depth of the knife. It's like Jammeh is the one that stuck the knife in us. You guys twisted it. You twisted it for a moment when we looked up, after we have breathed a sigh of relief, and we look up and see Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi smiling at us. This image is smiling at us. It brought back the horrors of what we faced. It momentarily made us lose belief in our government's ability to bring us justice. And that is why we're happy to see that these arrests are happening. Even as I say all this, I urge you not to be like Jammeh, but to follow the course of justice. Even the people, make sure there's evidence, take them before a court of law, follow our justice. I repeat my brother's statement that we must not only be right, but be righteous. And justice might mean that we may even have a few who are innocent, a few who are guilty, go free because we didn't have evidence against them, in order to make sure we don't wrongfully prosecute anyone who is innocent. For us innocent Gambians, and following the law of our land is more important, because that is what the people who died were fighting for. Now, I remind you, at the back of your mind, know that your crown is heavy. Every leader, nation's leader's crown is heavy. But yours is even heavier. Because your crown is set on the skulls of many dead Gambians. On the pain of tortured Gambians. Your crown, your throne, your crown is set on the backs of many women who were raped and tortured. We saw that woman stumbling out of the prison. We know, we have gotten from the horse's mouth about people who were raped, gang raped in Mile 2 to the point that they lose the temporary use of their legs. Let that guide you. Every moment that you want to make a decision, remember, what is it that put you in that seat, in that office? And as a result, it's time to go to work. I do like your cool character, that Obama no drama character, laid back. You're going to need it. Because what we have in front of us is monumental. We will be there every step with you, supporting you, walking with you. But please know that we're also watching you. We will never disrespect you, because when we disrespect you, we disrespect ourselves. Because the office is not about Barrow, it's about what the symbol it stands for. It's the symbol of our nation. So when we speak about it, we can speak about it. We need to speak about it. When we criticize it, even, we do it with respect. Because that is the highest. He's your president, whether you voted for him or not, whether you like him or not. And Barrow, that's what I want you to remember also. You are not only the president of UDP or the president of the coalition. You're the president of everybody, including even Jammeh's APRC folks. You are their president. The task lies to you to bring all of us together. That's an immense task. You are at the helm of it. We will be here, every single one of us. It is the responsibility of every Gambian to also work to make sure this happens. It is our country. Our destiny is tied together. When we fail, we will fail together. When we succeed, we will succeed together. If that Gambia collapses, it's not going to collapse just for Sigajany or for the APRC supporters who were insulting that day. It will collapse for all of us. Our destinies are tied together for good or bad. We have to remember that and put Gambia first. It is in that vein, Your Excellency, that I will be here to work as I've worked for the past almost 2 decades. To work for my country, not for you, for my country. Not for Sigajany or for anybody, for my country. Because what I see is Gambia first. When you do wrong, we will criticize you. We will hold you to task. When you do right, we will applaud you so that you will do it even more. You remember that. And what I would say is that, again, I remind you of your words during your address during the independence, that Gambia will never be the same, because now we understand that not only can we put our leaders in power, but we can also take them out. I apologize. I know that I'm falling apart. I don't even know what is going on. I mean, my emotions are... excuse me, my emotions are all over the place. I didn't mean for to be this emotional, but it is what it is. It is what God meant it to be, and I will let it be what it is. The other thing that I wanted to say, protect our rights. Follow the law. And when I say protect our rights, that includes all Gambians, including APRC supporters. Before I go to APRC supporters, because I start in my house first. I start with my president. I start with those in power. Then I go to those like me who don't support this administration. Because like it or not, this administration, no matter how bad they are much better than Yaya Jammeh, even their spit. Somebody told me yesterday that, well, listen to me, but at least, you know, but don't talk as if Yaya Jammeh, an old high school friend of mine mentioned, don't talk as if Yaya Jammeh hasn't done any good. Yaya Jammeh has done some good. I said, of course Yaya Jammeh has done some good. But let me ask you, I said, it's as if I just gave you, I just bought you some ice cream, maybe your favorite flavor, and say, hey, here's some ice cream. And I give it to you, you eat it, and you're so happy. Then I turn around and I stab you with a dagger in your heart. That act, that horrendous act that I just did, nullified the fact that I bought you your favorite ice cream and you just ate it. That is like what Yaya Jammeh, that is the example of what Yaya Jammeh did. Yaya Jammeh may have done some good things here and there, but the level of horror that he rained on the defenseless Gambian people, the level of horrendous acts against humanity that he has done, overshadows even the good things he have done. So don't tell me that Yaya Jammeh have done good. I know that. He's done some good, but the level of horror he has rained down on us, and unless you were on Jupiter and not in the Gambia, or not even on this earth, Yaya Jammeh, you will know. If you are a person, and you know, sometimes our people say we believe in God. You believe in God, including that imam. That imam, let me talk about that. How can you guys let that imam, when Imam Baba Lee is on the ground, when other imams are on the ground, how could you let that imam stand at a momentous day in our history like that, to be the ones to utter? The majority of Gambians are Muslim, believe in Islam. And I love the fact that in the face of, that was in Jammeh's face, the fact that we did the Islamic prayer and the Christian prayer, showing what we have shown all the time. We Gambians, we are one people. Christians, Muslims, Mandinkas, Wolof, Jola, you name it, that nation will sing for us or it will rise for us. Now, how can you get that imam, that Banjul imam, to stand there after that imam has also been complicit? He stepped out of religious arena. And in fact, knowing that a lot of people will just take his word, because he's a leader, he's a religious leader who's supposed to just believe in God. And Imam Charnoka stood time and time again in support of Jammeh, despite some of the things that Jammeh have done, that he saw blatantly. At a minimum, let me just give you even the most least common denominator. He could have said, okay, well, because I've heard that what they said was that, well, if you think about the December 38 folks, for example, they're the ones that attacked Jammeh, so he should have killed them. Okay, you know what? I'm not even going to be emotional about it. Let's say you make that argument, although that's not right. But the nature in which they were killed, and the fact that you as an Islamic leader, you knew their bodies were being kept, not being buried. For how long? For 6 months. all the way through June of 2016 until the FBI went to Gambia and took a sample of them. And they were buried without following Islamic rites. And you were sitting there during the July 22nd anniversary, praising Jammeh and praying that may Jammeh, during the independence, the 50th independence, praying that may Jammeh be at the helm of our nation for another 50 years. And you guys, the Barrow administration, you brought him to fulfill that major role on a day when we are taking the first steps, our infant steps into our future. You mean to tell me that was not a slap in the face of the entire Gambian nation, including victims and survivors? This is what I'm asking you. How could you do these things? As if we have a shortage of people of eminence. That's why people took matters in their hands and booed Aïssatou Njie Saidi. I'm not saying Aïssatou Njie Saidi should not have gone into the stadium. She should not have sat in a place of honor next to Fatmata Tambajang. That is a place of honor. So you're edifying her by inviting her next to you to take pictures and videos, and then putting her next to at the Independence Stadium next to Fatmata Tambajang. Putting Aïssatou Njie Saidi next to Fatmata Tambajang. And then calling her name so she can stand and wave at us. Do you know what we felt? Do you know what my mother felt? I talked to my mother that day. She cried. On a day she should have been happy. On a day she should have been happy. Because she remembers the words of Aïssatou Njie Saidi when Hassan was in a coma bleeding. That it was Aïssatou Njie Saidi that came on the radio and said that you can hamut. She remembered those words. Now to now see that woman stand on the stage of edification, waving and smiling. It was as if she was waving and taunting my mother. It was as if she was waving and taunting Chief Ibrahim Mane's mother. Barrow, I hope you will watch this video. I hope that Auntie Fatmata Tambajang will watch this video. I hope my Fati will watch this video. You may not know. You have to be sensitive. The situation of Gambia is very unique. It's not the same as every other country. For 22 years, the emotional and mental trauma that we have suffered is immense. You have to be sensitive to that. And you have to show that our pain matters to you. We're not asking you to pay attention so much to our pain that you go witch hunt these people or that you step outside of the realms of justice. We're asking you to use justice in order to ensure that whoever did wrong, and you have the appropriate proof, that you call them to justice. I say again, justice is not only punitive, but justice deters people from committing. If these people can go about doing whatever they want to, what it's telling me is your own administration. What is going to stop you from doing that? Someone in your administration. Because they know, well, we will set a precedence that in Gambia you can kill and maim and rape. As a matter of fact, later on, because Gambians like masla and they want to move on, they'll just let you go. You have to justice first. Yes. Yes. Forgiveness, yes, like Frederick Tendeng said, but justice first. You supporters of, like me, because I fought for Adama Barrow. Again, when I say Adama Barrow, I don't mean him, his person. I mean his office. Meaning having a president who is democratic. Even the APRC supporters themselves know that this presidency and this administration and this new Gambia is different from theirs. Because after everything they did, they're walking around, smiling and waving. What happened when Jammeh them came? The first thing they did was take everybody and put them in a truck. All of the people, previous government ministers, seizing their properties immediately. We're not asking you to do that because that's not justice. And if we have to change, we have to follow justice. But yes, follow justice. Be just and be judicious, and above all, be sensitive. Know that the things you do now that you hold office, what you do, how you act, what you say represent us, and it has the power to hurt your images. Even those pictures you are taking, know that people, it says something, it communicates. Everything you do communicates to people. When you were sitting there with those people, it communicated to our pain that sitting with those people was more important than our pain. That you couldn't even do it without behind closed doors. You had to put it out in the open for everybody to see. For my mother to hear in her head that day, at the Independence Stadium, instead of being happy, she was initially so happy, enjoying it, calling me, talking to me. And then all of a sudden, the image of Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi waving came. And she said in her head, she heard Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi on the radio saying that these children shot themselves and all kinds of nonsense. At the moment, my brother lay bleeding. And I know that the same happened for a lot of people. So be sensitive, remember that. And those of you who every time we criticize Barrow, you start insulting everybody as if Barrow is only your president. You think Barrow is only your president? Have you lost more than me? Have you lost more than other people? And even if I didn't lose anybody, am I not a Gambian like you? I have the right, like Barack Obama said. I and everybody have a right to criticize our president. I just ask them. I will ask them to do it respectfully, because when they criticize Barrow, they're not doing it in the name of Barrow. Barrow, when he was a businessman, nobody was criticizing him. It's when he assumed office that he was being criticized. So when you talk to him, you're talking not to the person, but to that office. So do it respectfully, because when you disrespect him, you disrespect the office. But his supporters must know the difference between criticizing and exercising your fundamental rights, and which is dissent, of not agreeing with something and voicing it, freedom of speech, and understanding how fundamentally important that is to democracy. People say democracy, democracy, but they don't understand democracy, because what Tuku Jallow did was democracy. I may not do it that way, and somebody else may not do it that way, but it is her right to protest and make a statement. If Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi was at home, or just going about her normal business and she was attacked like that, it's one thing. But she came to a public venue. That's why at that stadium people booed her. And you brought her next to take a picture next to you and took her to the stadium and sat her next to Auntie Fatmata Tambajang. And then also at the reception had her going around in honor. That is basically refreshing our pain. It's like Jammeh stabbing us and you guys twisting the knife. You people who think that Barrow belongs to all of you, just you. You think Barrow is only your president. Whether I don't care who you are. Because I'll tell you this. The people from UDP who know better, who are very educated, who know the rights of democracy, and who fought the hardest, your Lamin Tunkaras, your Alkali contest, they will never act like that. If you disrespect Barrow, or if they believe totally that what you're saying is not right and they have evidence, they will respond to you because it's their right. But they're not going to come and try to attack you physically and insult you. Only people who don't understand democracy do that. Barrow is your president, is my president. Barrow is the president of even those APRC supporters. He's the president of everybody. Like Barack Obama said, when he was being asked how during his 4 years, from 2008 to 2012, when Americans everywhere, you know, a lot of Americans who were really motivated by hate and racism, I feel, were criticizing him. And my own senator, who I work with his office, I keep saying this, but who said, my senator, who is the Senator Mitch McConnell, who was the majority house leader here in the United States Senate, said that for the next 4 years, the only thing he's going to do, his main priority is to make sure that Barack Obama is only a one-time president. A lot of us here got mad and we went to his office because we said, you are here to work for Kentucky. We put you in office to go to the Washington, D.C. to work for us, not to fight just Barack Obama. If your only goal is to take Barack Obama down, then there's a problem. Then you're forgetting us, the people. And so, again, I say this. When Barack Obama was being criticized, and really when he did wrong, he was being criticized. He was being disrespected, actually, in a way that the presidency of the U.S. have never been disrespected. There were some Republicans that defended him, that said, listen, that's the office of the president. You must respect it. You can criticize it, that the American democracy is built upon the respect of the fundamental individual rights of free speech. Is key to that, is key to democracy, but that do it with respect. So when we criticize and you come and start insulting our mothers, you are the one who's not democratic. You were the reason. People like you is how dictators come into being. Jammeh didn't become Jammeh all of a sudden. It was Gambian people and Gambians who emboldened him, who were in office lying for him, lying on each other, supporting him even when they did wrong, turning their eyes. People like Aïssatou Ndiaye Seydi, turning their eyes elsewhere, being quiet, watching it. And then his sycophants insulting you when you say anything and threatening you, and you're doing the same thing. Did we take Jammeh out just to have some of you be the same way? We will criticize. When we see Barrow and this government do something wrong, we will criticize it. We'll do it respectfully, but we will criticize him. When he does right, we will applaud him and tell him, please do more, him and his cabinet. Not only will we do that, we will go above and beyond, because a lot of you who go there insulting people don't even do anything. You just come on social media to insult. We've been working for 22 years. We'll continue doing that. We'll go on the ground. We'll be outside. We'll continue working. We'll work on projects. We'll work with that government. We'll work outside the government. But we will continue as watchdogs, because never again will Gambia have someone who will enslave us. It's not going to happen. It will never happen again. We will not allow it. So you can insult all you want, but we will build the tenets of our democracy, and central to that is the ability to speak out when we see something that we do not agree with. What you do, if you're a conscientious person who actually can debate your point, is you come and debate someone. If someone criticizes the government and you feel they were wrong, if you have facts and if you're articulate and you're able to defend your point, you come and defend it. You don't do that with insults. To me, insults is a sign of an empty head, someone who lacks content, who cannot support and articulate their point. Therefore, they stoop to the lowest level is the denominator, by personalizing, using personal attacks and insulting people. You are the least of our democracy, because through you is where tyrants begin. Through you is where threat comes in. Through you is where we lose the ability to hear each other when we do not agree. So stop that. Stop insulting people just because they criticize Barrow. And then I'm also going to say, these APRC people, you guys know very well. I don't know what happened at that incident. I was not there. So I will leave that in the hands of the authorities. And I will again say to the authorities, make sure you follow the letter of the law to the T. Don't be, I know you're not going to be to the extent of APRC. Nobody will ever be. Because if they were going to be to the extent of APRC, those APRC people who were taking videos and sending it on Facebook as if they are doing something. Yes, I like that you're doing citizen reporting, because we have to hold Barrow them accountable. But guess what, if that was Jammeh era? What did we see in May, June of 2016? Did you see just people standing around? One time, what did we see? PIU coming, beating people. And you guys were standing there insulting. Just like these people. But what ended up happening? Did anybody rape you? Did anybody take you just because you insulted? That is your right. And I will be the first person to fight. If you were holding a camera and somebody just because you did that, or you were voicing out that your people shouldn't be arrested, and they come and arrest you, I will be the first person to speak up for you. Let me know. If you show me the evidence, I will be the first person to speak up for you. I may not agree with you because you support APRC, but you are a Gambian just like everybody else. And if we say democracy, democracy is for everybody, and we must be tolerant. But you yourself know that if that was Jammeh, you would have been beaten. If that was Jammeh, his opposition's screaming like that. I'm not saying, I don't know who was right or wrong, because I really don't have the details of what happened at the incident. And until I have it, I cannot determine what happened, and I wasn't there. So I would leave that in the hands of the authorities and ask them to make sure they follow due process, and that they make sure they watch these security officials to make sure they don't now start doing for Barrow what they used to do for Jammeh, because they are confused. They don't know. Some of them don't know where their loyalty lie, although most of them do know where their loyalty lie. Okay, so I've talked about most of these points that I wanted to talk about. Again, April 10, 11 is about to come. Let us make sure this time we honor these people. We see Yusuf Mbai, we see Seni Senghor, we see Abdou Karim, we see Lamin Touré, we see Hassan Souare, we see a lot of them. But those are the survivors. Actually, there's all the people, the 14 that passed, that died, as well as Barrow, who was the Red Cross, the Red Cross official that was killed. But also there are a number of people who were injured, especially in the provinces, who, because they came from poor families, nobody knows about them to this day. There are a lot of them, and all those stories will come out. And the true story of what happened to the April 10, 11 folks, we will talk about it as we lead up to April 10, 11. You know, so now we go to this healing process. I keep hearing people saying, hey, yen tamit bàyyi leen noonu rek ñu taalal dem. Bàyyi leen noonu rek, let's just forgive and move on. Anybody who says that must not have been the one whose mother, daughter was raped, whose father was castrated, whose father was tortured to death. Now, if Fatmata Sandeng says that, or Aisha Jammeh, Haruna Jammeh's daughter says that, Or my mother says that my mother, who not only had one son shot, one daughter tortured, and after December 30th, her oldest son arrested and tortured. And then in his absence, his wife died whilst he had to run after he was in custody for a while. When they released him, he ran to Senegal. His wife died in his absence. He couldn't see him. And a week later, his 9-month-old baby died. All this we suffered and kept quiet, fighting, supporting each other. Satang Nyang is on this thread. I hope she still is. We used to talk 2 a.m. Satang was married to Jaja Nyas those 2 months. You know, December 30th, those people knew what they were going to do there. They knew their life could have been taken. But you saw the manner in which they were killed and laid out in the streets for us, their family members, to watch their bodies, to see. So when you guys tell us, those who have died have died. Those who have died, as if our loved ones didn't mean anything. As if these were not breathing human beings who loved and were loved, who mattered. So you want to set a precedence in Gambia so that when people kill someone, people can just move on and say, oh, it's no big deal. Because that's what you're saying. Yes, we will move on. Forgiveness, yes, but justice first. Justice is not only punitive, but it sets a precedence and it deters people from repeating the same horrendous acts against defenseless Gambians. We will follow justice. I do not ask anybody to go step outside of justice and witch hunt or harass someone on my behalf or on my family's behalf, or for vigilante justice. But justice must happen. Because let me tell you, if justice doesn't happen, people take matters in their own hands. Because when you go around seeing the person who raped you walking around, seeing the person who killed your father walking around, and nobody's doing anything about it, that's where you end up seeing the justice system deteriorating and people taking things into their own hands. And may God of the heavens never allow us to do that in our Gambia. Because our Gambia, we have an opportune moment. There has never been any country that have been able to. I have to get up because my phone is about to die. I'll be wrapping up soon, so I have to walk to the deck and plug this in so I can wrap up before I end up dying on you guys. So please pardon me. Like I said, I am not Ajikumba. I don't know how to do these things. So I'm trying to plug the phone. Give me just a minute to plug it, because the phone is getting ready to die, and that's not a good thing. Yeah, so we cannot okay, I plugged it. Just beginning to wrap up, we cannot, yeah, so we cannot we cannot just forget these things and move on like that. Forgiveness, yes, but forgiveness and healing goes through a process. You know, we have something in our culture where it's just like, and Tony Cisse, I saw Tony, who is really UK, from the UK, but he's like Benny, our own Benny. He was raised in Senegambia, speaks Wolof very well. He told me something about healing. He said, you know, in our culture, and even in Islam, and I definitely know in Christianity, that there's mourning. You're allowed to mourn. You know, but in Gambia, people who were killed and tortured, you were not allowed to mourn the way you need to mourn. Mourning means it allows you to talk about it wherever you choose to, with family members. I remember when my brother was killed, some close family members, very close, were even scared to go to our house. Some people will even go to the other side. People were scared. When I was calling people, they would not pick up the phone. They would not pick up the phone. People that just the day before I was talking to. And when they were hunting my sister, Jara Suare, I think Jara is on the thread. That night, that's why when people were telling me about people saying stuff about me, you think I had time for that? My family needed me. I had to get my sister smuggled out of that country because they were hunting her. Ndey Jobate is my witness. I was calling her, trying to get her to help me to smuggle my sister out. Calling Chernobyl, working with people behind the scenes. Not only for my family, but I was calling Satanias. I was calling Hoja. I was calling other people, trying to see what can we do together. Some of you on this thread know. Whether it's Lamdo C, Aminata Jain Tukulor C, of course my closest friends know. Ajikumba Dafe knows. Definitely Nancy Jaylan and Abdul Dabo knows, Balkis Bayumi knows, because those people were the ones. There was times that even Balkis had to feed me. I couldn't even eat, not because I didn't, I was physically ill, but because I couldn't sit down. She had to be following me around trying to feed me. You know why? It was not that I was sick or ill, because I was busy trying to save people who were being haunted. Not only my family, but other family members that we were trying to smuggle out of Gambia. People who didn't do anything. People who didn't even know that December 30th happened were being haunted. So I didn't have time for petty stuff. People were saying all kinds of things. I did not care, because at the end of the day, truth is what matters. For me, my brother's legacy and the love I have in my heart for him, no matter what, and the road we have traveled, that is what matters to me. I really didn't care, because for me, I don't have to satisfy the public. People who are believing what they want to, let them believe. I know the truth. God knows the truth. And the people involved themselves know the truth. So I don't have to justify to anybody. For me, I was working hard trying to smuggle Jara Suare out of Gambia, trying to find out where Jaja Nyasi's mother was, calling international organizations, working with people behind the scenes, trying to get them to get in touch with the international organizations so that they can locate the people who were abducted. That's what was my business. And trying to fight the Jammeh regime. I wasn't worried about other people. I had far more important things to do. So it's a matter of priorities. What is more important to you? Because for me, my brother's honor and was far more important. People can say what they want to, and I thank God I've never have been the one that's worried about what people say and what people believe. People are going to believe what they want to believe. It's because of who they are and how they think. For me, the way I think is very different, and thank God for that. You know. But let me tell you this democracy that we fought for, that we spilled blood for, meaning our blood, this democracy that we shed tears for, this democracy that for 20 years, I didn't start fighting just when my brother Njaga Jane died. I've been fighting. Those who have been here knows. When we were fighting back in 2000, there were people would be making fun of us. I've had people call my mother and say, you better talk to Siga, this young girl traveling from traveling from state to state, traveling everywhere, even saying that she's going to demonstrations and whatnot. Lolu yefi aidulla. I didn't follow Malensa, because I knew what I was fighting for. I knew Gambia Moma Nyora. And on top of that, what? 2002, I think I saw Abdul Karim Jammeh here. Abdul Karim Jammeh is actually one of the April 10 victims who was lying in the hospital with my brother, and also went to Egypt with my brother when the government abandoned them there and didn't pay for their hospital bill. And people like Yasofi Cisse, Myla Touré, people like, even I remember Yankuba Njai at the time, I remember Coach Pasamba Jau, people like that is who have sustained these people, including recently Sohana Sala, Sol Menga, who has immensely worked, who even was the one that went to Gambia in 2014 and smuggled these kids out. In 2000, I went and smuggled into Gambia, going through, I was just telling Lamin Tunkara this today. I went to Gambia, went through Senegal in 2003, sorry. It went through Senegal, went through our Badibou road. Because in Badibou, my mom is from Badibou Njawara. In Badibou, went through the back roads of Farafenye and went through Gambia to get my mom and Asan and get them out of Gambia. And when I went there, I actually had a meeting with Halifa Sallah, with a clandestine meeting with Halifa Sallah, with all the April 10, 11 victims, and with not just with my brother, because I knew my brother had me to fight for him. But what I saw with the rest of those kids, who a lot of them came from indigent families, who were suffering just as much as my brother, who didn't have any money, anybody to help them, and how they were being treated. That's what got me into advocacy, and I never stopped. I was so mad that I had to do something. When we went there and met in Gambia, before they knew I was there, I smuggled out. That was the last time I ever went to Gambia, in 2003. I actually posted a picture of it on Facebook one time. We had a meeting, Halifa Sallah, OJ, Sam Sarr, and April 10, 11 victims. It was actually in one of the houses of one of my sisters. Thank God she's not, we are the same dad. She lent me her house to spend the night there, but I never spent the night there. Instead, I had a meeting there. I'm sure if she ever saw this video, she will know, because she has never to this day knew that I had a clandestine meeting at her house. Now that Jan is gone, I can say it because she's not going to come after you. She was in Sweden. She had a house that she would stay every 6 months. I had a meeting there. Nobody knew the meeting was happening. The April 10, 11 students were just told that, hey, somebody has something for you. Meet them at the junction. We told them, because we used to send them money all the time, that we send somebody with money, meet them at the junction. And we had them go to different junctions, including Westfield, the famous revolutionary Westfield junction. And they were picked up by different people and brought to the house. And we had a meeting. We gave them our money and left. And that's how we started supporting them and working with them. But no, before that, we've been working with them for 3 years, since 2000. But I say all these stories not as a point of bragging or whatever, but to, again, bolster my point. To let you guys know, the same way we fought Jammeh, we will fight anybody in the name of Gambia. We will support anybody who we think, whether it's this administration or anyone. Because we spilled blood for this. And even if we didn't spill blood, every Gambian have a right to fight for his country. You don't have to have spilled blood even. It's our Gambia. We sink together or we rise together. So what I would say is, Barrow administration and your supporters, know that we put you there, and like Your Excellency, like you rightfully said, we can take you out as well. The way we took out a 22-year-old dictator, actually it wouldn't even take us that long. So keep remembering that, keep being sensitive to the pain of survivors of the Jammeh regime, and hold them up high. So I commend you for these latest arrests. I further entrust you to make sure, even in these arrests, even these people who were the people who raped and killed and maimed us, we ask that you make sure justice is done. When we say justice, we don't say justice just for us. We say follow the course of justice. Make sure that you don't treat them in the way that Jammeh would have treated them. Make sure you follow the laws of our land. I don't want anybody to commit atrocities in my name outside of the realms of justice. Follow justice. Do exactly what the law prescribes. But we, the people who survived this regime, who lost a lot in this regime, who fought for this, we the people of the Gambia, not just the people, because the Gambian people, even if somebody didn't kill you or imprison you, you lost a lot too. You lost 22 years of when you couldn't speak, living in fear. Not knowing when you're going to be picked up, simply by living in Gambia is traumatic. Just the fact that you lived in Gambia itself was traumatic. And we all need healing. And that healing is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. The healing is a process. The first step to healing is the truth. We must be able to uncover the truth of what happened to our loved ones. What happened to Chief Ibrahim Mahane? What happened to Ibu Job? What happened to Alhaji Mahmoud Sise? Where are the bodies of Captain Jaga Jan? Where are the bodies of Jaja Nyas? Where's the body of Lieutenant Colonel Lamin Sane? What happened to Ibulo? What happened to all these people? What happened to all our good sons and daughters who raped our women? Who tortured them? What happened? What are the stories that happened in Mile 2? These people who disappeared, what happened to them? Where are their graves? Can we recover their bodies? Somebody told me, I have not been able to confirm it yet. Somebody told me that they have discovered the body of Solo. I don't know, but according to them, and it's somebody that I know to be credible, but they said that someone told them that the body of Solo was found exactly where they said, at the Tujereng beach, with all his clothes, that they discovered it yesterday. And because of that, and I want to believe it because of the fact that the charges were brought. And you saw the charge sheets that appeared. You saw the charge sheets that appeared. So again, we want to know all these things. Be sensitive to our plight. And I ask President Barrow, make sure you remember what led us here, the road that led us here, the people that fought for you, the people, not for you, the people that fought for Gambia, and what we sacrificed on the way, that your crown, the road of blood, tears, sweat, and bodies that leads to where you are today. Remember that. Let that be a reminder for you every day in that office. And yes, let us criticize when we see something wrong, let us say it with respect, and then let us hold them to task, and let us hold ourselves to task as well. What I will close with is this. This is what I will close with. That in fact, you know, I was told a story. I listened to a lot of self-improvement programs, and one of the things that was talked about was that we know what is in front of the administration and each of us is major. But think about it. Just only 2 years ago, if anybody told us that we would unseat Jammeh without firing a single bullet, we would not have believed it. So there is nothing we cannot do. And we have a lot of goodwill capital around the world, in the EU, in the US, anywhere you go. Let us take that capital, the resources they are giving us, and invest it in our young people, in our institutions. And I quote our president, His Excellency Adama Barrow says, let us build strong institutions and not strong men. Let us hold ourselves accountable to build our country, build strong institutions. And that's not just the government's job, it's each one of us' job. Let us get resources from everywhere, bring it and build our projects. That's why people were asking me, oh, why didn't you take a position in the government? I don't need a position in the government to work for the Gambia. I don't need a position in the government to work for the Gambia. I can go design my own project just like I do whilst I'm here, apply for a grant funding, and then take it there and put up a project and work with young people or work with whoever else. Or the government can have money and I apply for it and build my own project. We cannot all be in the government, because some of us need to be outside in order to be watchdogs and make sure we can tell them when they are wrong. And not all of us can be in the government. It's not the government's job to build a country. It's all of our jobs. And that is what we must do. So I was saying earlier that I was listening to a program, a self-development program. I'm always listening. Ajikuma makes fun of me and my friends make fun of me that I'm always meditating and listening to all these things. But anyway, one of the analogies they brought is sometimes when we face a major challenge, it's like you're going somewhere. You're trying to pass through a passage between two mountains, and then that is you're trying to pass through a passage between two mountains, and you encounter a huge boulder, a huge stone in the middle of the road, and the stone is blocking your way. But what you don't realize is there's a huge giant, as if there's a giant walking next to you, but for some reason you don't see that giant. And you went all the way to the stone and you're trying to lift the stone, you can't. Then you're trying to find all kinds of strategies to squeeze through the stone. You're bruising yourself, you're hurting yourself, instead of just asking the giant to lift the stone for you. In the same way, in that analogy, the giant is God. May God lift the stone, if any, that is in front of the Gambia, and he can do it. Because in the whole world, everywhere I go, people are telling me we never could believe that a brutal dictator can be unseated without a single gun being fired. So I know God can lift that stone in front of our path. So let's continue our prayers. God, though, doesn't come down and do the work himself. He uses people. He uses you. God's miracles, for God to lift that stone in front of Gambians, that major challenge in front of Gambians of rebuilding Gambia and healing together, going through justice and then reconciling, he will need each one of us to be able to do what is right, to be able to do our part to build the country, to be able to hold our leaders accountable when they are wrong, to be able to be tolerant even when people are saying something that we don't agree with. If you don't agree with me and you have your point, make the point. If you're somebody who's articulate and you have facts, you don't need to resort to insulting people. Say what you have to say, unless you don't have content and you cannot support your case. It doesn't say much of you. See, what people don't realize is what you say out of your mouth says more about you than what it says about the other person. How you articulate yourself, the statements you make. You may have been right even. You may have been right, but if you bolster your position with insults, it says more about you. That the only thing you could get out of your mouth is to use insults instead of articulating your point, supporting your point with facts, with statements, with dignity, instead of you insulting people. Stop that. This is a new Gambia, better Gambia, and we must do it together. And APRC supporters, you are Gambian too. But just because, Yaya Jammeh, let me tell you something. Africans, we sometimes, you know, instead of building for our lives and our nation, we follow a leader so much that we forget our nation. You as APRC, you think Yaya Jammeh cares about you when he was taking his wife and his children to be to hundreds of thousands of dollars schools and to be enjoying in Maryland in a multi-million-dollar mansion when you guys are suffering? Most of you, it is people in the diaspora that support you, us that you insult. Okay, maybe the little bit that some of you that Yaya Jammeh gives. But when he kills and maims, you keep quiet, and now you want to destroy the Gambia because of him. Yaya Jammeh has forgotten you. Listen to me. I am telling you again, if anybody tramples upon your rights and I see the evidence, I'll be the first to stand up for you because you are also Gambian. But you will not destroy our country either. You are not going to destroy our country either. Not you, not Barrow, anybody. The same way that if Barrow does wrong, I will criticize him and I will do what I can to make sure that I stand up against it. We will stand up against you as well. You have a right to make your statements. You have a right to protest. It's the Gambia. It's free. That's why we created a new Gambia. We want to show you this is not the Gambia of APRC. But you will not destroy our country either. Let me tell you that. So you are very clear. If you want to walk by following the just laws of the land, by standing, following the legal systems, whether you have your party or however you're going to do it, as long as you don't try to destabilize the Gambia just because Yaya Jammeh is gone. You think Yaya Jammeh cares about you guys? We need to stop edifying our leaders and acting like they're kings. This is our problem, even with Barrow, with anybody. Don't act like he's a Mansa, or don't act like he's a Boer, or I don't even know how they say Boer in Fula or in Jola. But don't act like these people are people that are untouchable. We cannot criticize them if you say anything. No, they're human beings just like you. God put them there. But they're there to serve us. You have to learn what servant leaders are. This is the problem of Africa. We take our lives and put it down for leaders instead of our nation and instead of God. So again, what I'm going to do now is thank you, those of you who have stayed here with me for a long time. I appreciate you. I see Lamin Toure, who is also part of the April 10/11 victims. Lamin actually lives in Phoenix. Lamin came here. I can't remember what year Lamin came here. And Sophie and I and Os Menga and Saul and a number of us helped him to go through the process after he came here. He was actually one of the people who was in my picture when I smuggled into Gambia. Lamin, I don't know if you remember that when I smuggled into Gambia, into one of my sister's house when we had that meeting. I hope my sister doesn't see this video. Now she'll know that I used her house for the Lamdo. See, of course. Lamdo, my Tukulor, my Fulani, you are the Alin Situe Jatas of Gambia. My Baji, my niece. Oh my God, I was talking about how much have happened in our family. My Baji's mom and me share the same dad. And my Baji is my niece. Her mom, Kumba Jane, an amazing sister of mine, just like Fatou Jane. These are our strengths. These were the people that upheld me and my mother and our family when things were at the worst. And when my husband was taken, disappeared, was abducted in the Gambia, my mom stayed with her for almost a year. My mom was in Gambia, but she had to come back to be with her. And oh, Asan Jane, I remember the days when Asan Jane in Florida, my nephew, who was the one who was helping me by talking to Amnesty International, applying, filling out forms to see if we can trace my brother or even my brother's body, and also taking that information and putting it in a format so that we can share it with the other families, Jaja Nyas's family, Lamin Sane's family, so they can do the same. Writing letters to the dead house, the director of the mortuary in the Gambia, trying to ask them to release the body. He was the one there helping us. I see my sister Jara, the one that was also tortured, Jara Suare. I see Keba Foon from Save the Gambia, who was fighting along with all of us back in the 2000s when a few of us used to walk around and they would call us foolish. I see my brother Alaji Idrissa Jane. I see Hadinjai, my Alion Suteye Jatas, Hadi Jaure Foon. I love you. Thank you for supporting my niece, my Baji, for being her strength when things have been tough. I see a lot of you, Mbai Dabo. I saw Alaji Dabo earlier. I saw Bala Musa Sise. Oh, Bala. You make me happy. Sadio Ndour and her family. God, I don't want to cry again, so let me move on. Because Sadio and Auntie Mami when things were so tough. I remember when we were going through so much, and when we were doing the funeral of my brother, I'm standing in my garage, trying to figure out all these people who were here, trying to figure out how to feed them, at the same time trying to call to figure out my brother that was arrested, some of his kids that were in the Gambia, some of the little things that you still have to go on with despite the horrendousness of the situation. Talking to their mother about their school fees, I believe, and trying to figure out how I'm going to feed these people who are all here. Not because of course I have the money, but just trying to do all these things and trying to make sure my sister was smuggled out of Gambia. And Auntie Mammy sent her son to drive up to our house, and all of a sudden the garage door opened and her son got down with food. I have never seen anything like this in my life. All kinds of food. We had food for everybody in our house for the whole weekend. Cooked domada from Benachin to Cher, everything to serve to these people. It was those things that I remember. So as I had people who were closest to me, people who I've done a lot for, who Njaga have done a lot for, who ran away from us during the time when it hurt the most. When people were out making up stories, lying about my character, saying that we were fighting for my brother's wealth, which none of it was true. None of it. At that moment was people like Auntie Mamindur, people like Lamdosi, people like Aminata Jai. If I can't say all of these people's name. People like Amiseka, people like my sister Fat Jan. I cannot even, oh my God, that woman, I would never forget that woman. I would never forget people like Nancy Jail and people like Balkis. Those people, I would never be able to repay you, because even if I gave you $1 million, I would never be able to do for you what you did for me at the moment when there was so much on me trying to be the strength for my family. I thank you. I thank you. And I want to thank everybody for being here. I know I cannot say everybody's name to Kulorsi. I cannot say everybody's name, you know, Maimunaka, all of these people that I'm seeing, Modunjai. I see Ramundela, Musti Jabang, Dr. Siga Jany, and Jara Jany, all of you guys who have been there when it was the toughest. I see so many of you, Ndejubate, all of these people. I cannot even name all of you, but I thank you. I thank you. May God, who is able to do all things, who is the one who has the best of everything. Zainabu Fall, Jainabu Fall, Ya Fatunjai Mbai and Lamin Mbai. I cannot, I mean, the beauty of this is this. At the moment that you had some horrendous people who were spreading lies and people running away from you, when so many things were happening, like I said, at the moment we were dealing with my brother being arrested, and then after he was released, his wife dying and his baby dying a week later, my sister having to be smuggled out. When all this were happening, and then the people who used to be close to us that we used to send money to and help all the time, people that I was talking to the day before wouldn't pick up my phone calls to help us to get my sister out. At that moment, champions arose, some of them who I never even talked to, have never helped in my life. That's what made me continue to believe in humanity, that no matter how bad people are, they are also good people. That perhaps even those bad people, maybe something happened in their life. People who lie, people who cheat, people who go and make up stuff and be in drama. I ask God to continue to help me to forgive them, which I already have. But I know that nobody is born bad. And it has made me believe in humanity, that people also stepped up. I thank all of you. I cannot really say all of your names, but thank you. And I will get off here now because it's been a long time, but thank you so much. And I'm falling apart again. I mean, people always say, oh, Siga, you're so strong. Listen, I'm just as sensitive. It's just that when things need to be done, I do it. But it doesn't mean I don't cry. It doesn't mean I don't hurt. I hurt just like everybody else. I'm a human being. So that's why we continue to say, be sensitive. The Barrow administration, be sensitive. All of these people are hurting. There's a lot of trauma that has happened. And you cannot just force us. And it is not your right to forgive. It is us who have suffered. It is Ya Mami who can forgive. It is Auntie Jara who can forgive. It is Aja Yasin Job who can forgive. It is my body who can forgive. And until they get their justice, they cannot heal, and we cannot get to reconciliation. You can even forgive without being able to reconcile because of the fact that you haven't healed. So I leave all of you to Gambia. Let us walk together. Don't ask yourself what does the Gambia need, and ask the government to do that. Ask yourself what would make the Gambia come alive, what is best for the Gambia, and ask yourself how can you help to make that happen. See yourself in the building of this new Gambia. Stand in there and build our Gambia together. I thank all of you for being here for a long time. I appreciate you. You guys have a great evening. I know it's late for some of you who are in the Gambia. I have a belief. I know we will build a good Gambia. I know that, because if we can unseat Jammeh, we will build a good Gambia. Thank you guys, and I appreciate you.